Welcome to Mountain Vista Unitarian Universalist Congregation. Welcome to those of you who are here on this beautiful Tucson sunny morning, and welcome to those of you who are attending virtually. Welcome to those of you from all walks of life, ages, stages of development, different faith traditions, and the many identities that we all hold. My name is Samar Adi, and myself and Jombar Zoltan are today's pastoral associates. Yes. So I would like to take a minute to say thank you. Thank you to Robin Bausell, who I believe is hosting our Zoom room. Thank you to Lee and Todd McNeely for handling the audio visuals. And thank you for all of you for making this possible. Thank you for our music director, Chris Tackett, for the beautiful music. And thank you to Reverend Funkeri for continuing to take us on this journey on transformation. So today's service on transformation resonates deeply for me. It reminds me why I became a UU about 20 years ago. Attending services with others who held different faiths, beliefs, and listening to the same sermon, and were really able to be in community with each other meant so much. To find that commonality in the process of taking in and allowing change was amazing, and so far outside anything I had ever known to that point. I found a community that was open and willing to be open to that high cause of understanding who we are and what in us is true. So thank you all for being here, and I am joyful to be part of this process with all of you. In gratitude, we commit ourselves to open-hearted engagement, courageous love, inspiring transformation. Our mission at MVUU: build an open-hearted, welcoming community where we work together in covenant to transform ourselves and our world through love. Together, we will nurture our Unitarian Universalist faith, identity, teach it to our children, and live it throughout our world. Create space and support to develop authentic connections to each other's lives. Give and receive care to and from one another. Risk vulnerability to create covenantal relationships across all kinds of difference within the congregation and beyond its walls. Bring more love and justice to the world in covenant with impacted people. Develop life-sustaining spiritual practices.
Our opening sacred song is "We Would Be One," and number 318 in our gray hymnals, but you won't need those because it will all be projected. Please join your voices together. And please rise as willing and able.
Our hymn of
Please be seated. In the Midst of a World by the Reverend Rebecca Parker. In the midst of a world marked by tragedy and beauty, there must be those who bear witness against unnecessary destruction and who with faith rise and lead in freedom with grace and power. There must be those who speak honestly and do not avoid seeing what must be seen of sorrow and outrage, of tenderness and wonder. There must be those whose grief troubles the water, whose voices sing and speak refreshed words. And there must be those whose exuberance rises with lovely energy and articulates the earth's joys. There must be those who are restless for respectful and loving companionship among human beings, whose presence invites people to be themselves without fear. There must be those who gather with the congregation of remembrance and compassion and draw water from the old wells and walk the simple path of love for neighbor. And there must be communities of people who seek to do justice, love kindness, walk humbly with their God, who call on the strength of soul force to heal, transform, and bless life. There must be religious witness. I invite you now to a time of contemplation, of considering, pondering our Unitarian Universalist religion. Back in 1988, during the Power of Myth series on PBS, hosted by journalist Bill Moyers, who recalls seeing it? Joseph Campbell, mythologist of world religions, offered this definition. The word religion means religio in Latin, linking back the phenomenal person to the source. Religion for Campbell was meant to reconnect one's mind and heart and spirit with a broader being, a greater wholeness. Religion, as defined by Campbell, did not focus on one single tradition or any specific set of beliefs. It was a container for any and all human commitment that sought to reunite an individual's core values to something far beyond themselves. And in this way, he was making an ontological definition, which means it doesn't focus on specific forms or functions, meanings, or methods of the world's beliefs and traditions. Instead, it offers a container to hold all of them. So our Unitarian Universalist religion, or if you don't like that word, our Unitarian Universalist faith, or if you're not too warm to that one, our Unitarian Universalist-ism, and if that doesn't work for you, I'm out of suggestions. Our religion, faith-ism, is held within Campbell's definition. We have our specific forms and functions, methods and meanings that are distinct from other religions and faiths and isms. And yet what we do, what we strive for, what we commit ourselves to is about reintegrating every human life, mind, heart, body, and spirit with a greater whole. Or, in our Unitarian Universalist Association's terms, we affirm and promote each inherently worthy and dignified individual within the interdependent web of existence of which we are all a part. And to bring it closer to home, here at MVUU, we say we commit ourselves to build an open-hearted, welcoming community where we work together in covenant to transform ourselves and our world through love. Or to return to those ontological definitions, those containers, like those developed by Christian ethicist Paul Tillich, we strive to realize each individual's power, to join together in the drive to love and reunite all that has been separated. And that's a combination of Tillich's ontological definitions of power and of love. Power, to realize the self. Love, the drive to reunite all that's been separated. And I have it on very good authority that Tillich offered these definitions not only in an academic pursuit for understanding, but from his personal passion and care for humanity. He cared deeply about human beings. He cared about us and about our world, both heart-opening and heart-breaking, that we witness every day. And in his wisdom, he perceived us struggling to reclaim our power and trying to reunite in love. And through his definitions and his compassion, he sought an even bigger container to connect and unite and integrate and hold these meanings of power and of love. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., one of the most well-known activists of the civil rights era, studied Tillich's ontology and definitions as part of his doctoral studies. In speaking to other civil rights leaders, he offered them his conclusion of Tillich's work: power without love is reckless and abusive, and love without power is sentimental and anemic. Power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice, and justice at its best is power correcting everything that stands against love. For both King and Tillich, the container to hold power and love together and realize their dynamic is justice. And by justice, they meant the exact same thing that Joseph Campbell meant in defining religion. Think of that. Justice defined as the commitment to link every human life back to a greater whole. Justice realized by joining one's personal power in a loving community to unite what has been separated. Justice as your open-hearted engagement to courageous love to transform ourselves and our world. Justice, not as specific systems of laws and legalisms, processes, or procedures, but as reentry. As reentry to the power at the center of your life, and 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 your life. Rediscovered, that power rediscovered here among compassionate and caring people who learn and grow together in what it means to love. And that is nothing less than the mission of this congregation. Or if you aren't warm to the word, our purpose for existing, or if that doesn't quite suit you, mission, purpose, soul, the soul of Mountain Vista. And in this mission, purpose, soul, we have committed ourselves through our individual power to collectively love and craft justice. May it be so. because we choose to make it so together. I invite you now to a time of meditation, of focusing, centering, breathing. Those of you here in person, I offer a special invitation to be gentle with your breathing. It can be challenging when wearing a mask to focus on breathing in and out. But as we breathe evenly and lightly, know that we are all breathing together, those in person and those online. As you are able, relax into your body. And feel our community. And be present to this moment in history. We invite you to bring your hearts into community. Yours might be opening to wonder or joy this day, or it might be breaking with grief or with dread. Regardless, bring your heart here to be loved. Bring your passionate heart, exhilarating and enthusiastic, alive with compassion, and your angry heart, furious, done with the intolerance and cruelty, dehumanizing our people and degrading our planet. Bring your astonished heart, emboldened by sharing simple acts of kindness, or astounded by the audacity of arrogance and everyday exploitation. Bring your trembling heart, hopeful that this is a place and a people truly welcoming in love, and a heart perhaps quaking with fear that somehow you are not lovable. Bring your open hearts, all that you cherish and brings you joy in this world, and bring even the stuff within your heart you might wish wasn't there. We will be your companions, alongside you in your joy and grief, your wonder and your dread, your compassion and your anger, your kindness and your arrogance, your hope
and your fear. Here, we will make mistakes together. We will even let one another down at times. And then, in love, we will learn, and we will grow, and we will change, and we will transform, and we will do even better the next time. And through it all, we will be just us. Just us. Individuals powerfully loving alongside one another here in this community, and we will be justice. Justice. A people powerful in love through the shared power of each and all. And so we commit ourselves to transform. A big transformation of the world, and an even bigger transformation of our hearts. Breathe that in with me. That here among this people, in this community, in your body, that we will be just us, justice together. We are a people who welcome one another in love. And when someone's journey takes them out beyond the walls of this, our spiritual home, we bless them upon their departure. Cesar, Jacob, would you please join me up here? Right here. Okay. Yeah. At your wedding here on July 30th, Reverend Jeanette Wingate, your officiant, spoke this truth to the both of you. Soon you will leave our desert for a new city by the beach, and together you will be exposed to landscapes and cultures that are eerily similar, but completely different. And together you will be strangers, and together you might feel alone. 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez reminds us that even if we feel alone, we never are. We are deeply connected to those people past and present whose experiences we have benefited from. And Reverend Wingate concluded, the memory of past experience will be brought with you. You will hear our voices and be reminded by the fact that you are never alone. And it is also true that your voices will be here, echoing through this building and here among us in our hearts, to remind us of the insight and the beauty you have gifted to us. I haven't had the opportunity to know either of you for very long, just a few months, and even shorter, a few weeks. But during that time, you have shared your love of this place and this people. And I've witnessed this sanctuary and this congregation anew and afresh through your vision and your action. Thank you.
Last October, my niece married a wonderful woman, and we've come to love her as part of our family very, very much. And this thought occurred to me as I was thinking about gay American author Armistead Maupin, who said, there are two kinds of family, the biological and the logical. The biological, of course, is the family that raised us, our family of blood, the family we come from. And our logical family is the family made of love, and the family made of community, and the family we forge together out of all those people who are most dear to us. I, however, come from a different family, a third family that runs parallel to all of these. The family of the funny uncles who never married. The family of the men who in earlier times may have become clergy or church organists. Or the spinster aunts who never married and who lived with their beloved friends and never got too upset when they were mistaken for sisters. In an earlier time in this country, they may have come west to seek a new life, becoming the cowboys and saloon girls of all genders and forging a new life for themselves. And in the tradition of those people who lived in this land long before white people got here, we were the Berdash, or the two-spirited, or the beloved members of our community. There were some in the face of all that pressure who chose to end their lives as well. And there were some, way too many of my own friends, who had their life stolen from them by violence or disease. And these are all a part of our history and a part of our legacy and a part of our family. And I offer you a blessing on behalf of all of them. I invite everybody here to rise, whether you're queer yourself or you have a beloved family member, logical or otherwise. And if you are so moved, you may raise your hands, you may make a sign of blessing, or you may simply smile, a beautiful smile, under your masks. This is the threefold blessing of the Torah, although virtually every tradition has some version of this blessing. May the face of the divine bless you and keep you. May the face of the divine shine upon you and bless you all of your days. And may that face and the faces of all these wonderful people here bring you joy and love and happiness and that most elusive blessing of all, the blessing of peace. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be the will of the divine and the will of all these people here, and may we all, according to our own tradition, say, Amen, Amen, blessed be, Shalom Aleichem, Assalamu Alaikum, may the force be with you, and live long and prosper.
And we're not quite done yet. We would like to offer you a few simple gifts to go with our blessing. Samar, Debbie. Our blessing for your future has three symbolic gifts: bread, salt, and wine. And while the form and the meaning that we share today comes from the holiday classic, It's a Wonderful Life, the blessings for your future holds much more ancient and deep meanings.
Bread, that you may never know hunger.
Pan, para que el hogar nunca conozca el hambre.
Salt, that you may have flavor in your life.
Sal, para que la vida siempre tenga sabor.
wine, that joy and prosperity may surround you forever.
Vino, para que la alegría y la prosperidad reinen por siempre.
May you be so blessed as you have blessed this place and these people. Over the last month of Sundays, we have pictured astronauts adrift above the earth, peering down at our blue-green home. We have been serenaded about desperados riding fences and being called back. You better let somebody love you before it's too late. And we've heard stories about trust falls and failures from 6-foot ladders. We have shared all this together and more as illustrations from this month's theme, Reentry. Each has offered us an example of someone feeling distant, isolated, alone, and yet holding the possibility to reunite with others and to return to life. And each has been its own reflection on our experience into and through these last few years of a pandemic. And you all remember, I'm certain, back when it began, that out of confusion and concern, our entire world separated, shut down, quarantined. And I'm sure that you remember then that distrust and misinformation began to emerge, further widening our segregation, shutting out differing views, and keeping us, moving us further and further apart. Yet those disturbing distances were just echoes of the life that we had already been living prior to the pandemic. And so astronauts in orbit, cowboys called home, falls and failures were also reflections on our experience that we are currently having, that we have always been having as human beings existing at this time. Lives distant from one another, isolated, alone. And it's important that you know, that you always remember that it is not all your fault. There are destructive systems that human beings have devised, economic and political, social and cultural systems that function at their best when you feel insignificant. And they are not your fault. You did not craft these systems dehumanizing our people or degrading our planet. And yet we suffer from them when we live as consumers, defined by political parties, narrowed by social norms, confined to roles that we have not chosen. And yet, if our examples of reentry ring anything of truth, it's because they offer us the possibility of return. Return to individual power, reconnection to our collective love, a re-entry into life-giving systems out of which we were born, that sustain our planet. The distances that we have been pushed to live in, the great spans and chasms, we can turn back. we can actually turn back and begin to witness what is happening in the world of systems and how it feels to live within it. And then we can reclaim our power and our love as our means to re-enter and transform the world. The United States Department of Defense also uses the word re-entry. They use it to describe the process of military personnel transitioning back to civilian life. And our U.S. military is the largest employer on the planet. Yes, it is still larger than Walmart. And its many branches know how to recruit and train and deploy their 300 million people combined. And yet somehow this military system, it fails veterans in their re-entry and their return home. According to Pew Research, 44% of our veterans since the September 11th attack experience PTSD, stress disorders, depression, anxiety, problematic alcohol use, and thoughts of suicide. It is a deep injustice that 1.3 million people suffer because they served our country. Psychotherapist Edward Tick calls this epidemic among veterans a soul wound. He says many soldiers come back from war with broken hearts, shattered belief systems, and an unsteady view of right and wrong. The American military philosophy is to deconstruct the civilian identity and replace it with a warrior identity, which forever changes a person. And in order to address these soul wounds, treatments must be completely holistic and focus on the mind, body, spirit, heart, community, purpose, connection. Through his work to help veterans in their roles as warriors to accept that that's who they are, to ritually cleanse their emotions, to tell their stories, and then to come home and make amends within their communities. He has begun a transformation for veterans. A transformation that isn't just possible, but a transformation that is happening. Those who suffer from their military service to our country, they are healing. They are returning home. Tick's work doesn't end there, however. As he witnesses the impact of the military system on so many, he ponders. What if significant reasons our veterans suffer in epidemic numbers lie, to paraphrase Shakespeare, not in the veterans, but in ourselves? What if the source of traumatic breakdown are in society, in our beliefs and practices, in the reasons and the ways that we prepare for and make war, and in the ways that we neglect or fail our troops before, during, and after service? What if veterans are carrying on our collective war wounding alone because it is denied and disowned by society at large? His work, his compassion, his love makes me wonder if the soul suffering of individuals caught up in destructive systems can be transformed by a re-entry into community, well then why can't we do it as well? Why can't we transform not just our own hearts and our communities, but the systemic causes, and that by witnessing them, perceiving them for what they are, owning them as human mistakes, why can't we learn to be better? I think this is why we come. I think this is why this congregation is here, and it certainly is what this congregation has said in its mission statement that is fresh and new and needs exploration. But I believe we're all coming hungry to heal our soul wounds, to begin to claim our individual power to love together. And when we do that, it isn't a transformation that we wish for tomorrow, next week, in 3 years. It is a transformation that is happening here, right now. It's the reason for our religion, the focus of our faith, the insistence of our ism. The mission, purpose, and soul of this congregation. You see, we don't have to just re-enter the world that's been handed to us. We don't have to suffer through it alone anymore. We can re-enter our inherent power, our courageous love. We can re-enter our transformation today, now, into life-giving, fully living, and a sustainable world that we all deserve. May it be so. Our closing hymn, Sacred Song, is Fire of Commitment. And it is so wonderful having our music director back and feeling better from, COVID, that I will offer, as he is directing me to direct all of you. Please rise in body or in spirit and join your voices together.
Set
Please be seated.
I love history and recalling dates of important events or birthdays of key historic figures. Today, August 28th, reminded me of an important event that also happened on this day, but 59 years ago, 1963, and which I feel is relevant to today's theme. On the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., in front of over 250,000 people, the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. gave one of the most powerful addresses of his career, the "I Have a Dream" speech. I downloaded the transcript and was emotionally shaken as I read it and found it so relevant to current times and our theme here today. However, it is best experienced in its entirety, but we are limited by time. 4 days ago was August 24th. That is close enough to today to acknowledge the birthday of one of the most influential and preeminent theologians of American Unitarianism, the Reverend Theodore Parker, born August 24th, 1810. He was a powerful preacher, preeminent abolitionist, and renowned transcendentalist. I bring up Theodore Parker because his sermons have been studied in seminaries of numerous other denominations, not just in Unitarianism. In one of his most famous sermons that he delivered in 1853, titled "Of Justice and Conscience," he spoke these words: "Look at the facts of the world. You see a continual and progressive triumph of the right. I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one. My eye reaches but little ways. I cannot calculate the curve and complete the figure by the experience of sight. I can divine it by conscience. And from what I see, I am sure it bends towards justice." On March 25th, 1965, on the steps of the Alabama State Capitol in Montgomery, at the end of the March from Selma, the words of Theodore Parker were brilliantly paraphrased by Dr. King. Let me quote from that speech. "I know you are asking today, how long will it take? How long will prejudice blind the visions of men, darken their understanding, and drive bright-eyed wisdom from her sacred throne? When will wounded justice, lying prostrate on the streets of Selma and Birmingham and elsewhere, be lifted from the dust of shame to reign supreme among the children of men? When will the radiant star of hope be plucked from weary souls with chains of fear and manacles of death? How long will justice be crucified and truth bear it? I come to say to you, however difficult the moment, however frustrating the hour, it will not be long, because truth crushed to earth will rise again. How long? Not long, because no lie can live forever. How long? Not long, because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. We Unitarian Universalists are proud that the words of our forebears are able to echo back again and again to give us the strength we need today to continue the struggle towards the victory of justice over evil. We release the light of our covenantal chalice, but let its receding flux of shining rays continue to illuminating the power that exists within each one of us. Let its ephemeral brightness light up the love of our collective community. Let the power within our individual beings combine with that communal love to transform us all, to help create the collective force which continues to bend the arc of the moral universe towards justice.